Hi, everyone. This is Casey, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the basic setup for using Google Drives, Google Forms in the classroom. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our Google Drive. Remember, you can find that if you log into email, if you log into the internet, you can find it in your little apps in the bottom left-hand corner. You can also find it when you log into Google Drive or Google Chrome, internet. You can find it in the top right-hand corner in this little icon. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit this little icon. I'm going to hit Google Drive. And as you can see, I'm already in it. And what I'm going to do is I am going to reiterate, if this is the first video that you are watching out of this series, I really like Google Drive components. I use Google Drive now more than I use, basically I don't really use Microsoft Office anymore for a number of reasons. Google Drive, everything is saved in the cloud, the Google Cloud. And I can access my information. I can access whatever I'm working on, whatever I've created, whatever has been shared with me from any computer, wherever I am, as long as I have internet access. So no longer do I have to worry about emailing me attachments so I can work on some project at another computer or downloading to a flash drive so I have the information with me. Wherever I am, all I have to do is log into my Google account and it's there. So one of the components that I really, really like is Google Forms. I tend to use Google Forms quite a bit in my classroom. It has allowed me to almost become a paperless classroom as far as quizzes and quick formative assessment checks and surveys and stuff like that. And I also use it with my parents too. So this is a tool that I really think you're going to like. We all are used to using documents, whether it's Microsoft Word or whether it's Google Docs. We're all used to presentations, whether it's Microsoft PowerPoint or Google Slides. We're used to spreadsheets, whether it's Google Sheets or whether it's Microsoft Excel. But this is a new component that Microsoft did not have. So let's start working with it. So where I'm going to go is I'm going to open up my Google Drive and I'm going to go to New. Now, if you were working with the older version of Google Drive, this red bar right here will say Create, but it's basically the same thing. So I go to New and I notice it is not right here waiting for me. So all I have to do is go to More and then you can see it's Google Forms. And Google Forms has its own little icon. So whenever you look in your Google Drive to see all of the things that you have saved, you're going to look for the Google Forms icon. Let me show you. This is a folder in your Google Drive. This is a Word document. This is a PDF that I've downloaded from the internet. This right here would be a Google Form. You can kind of see it almost looks like bullets right there. This is a Google Sheet, which I really like with Google Forms because whenever you create a Google form, Google Drive will automatically create a Google spreadsheet that stores the results and the information and the answers that you compile from your Google form. So you don't have to do that. Google does that for you. So that's really cool. So whenever you can see right here, I created a form, 21st Century Educators, and Google automatically created 21st Century Educators. These are the responses. So all of the information will be compiled into one database. So that's kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to go back up to my Google form. And as you can see here, we've got, because we're in the Fulton Public School District, we've got a couple of little choices. This first box says, these are your settings for your form. Do we want to require FPS login to view this form? If you want only your students in your classroom and no one else, or only people that are within the Fulton Public School domain to view the form, then you would check that. If this was something I was sending to parents, I would want to uncheck that because they do not have an email address that falls within the FPS domain. So that's something to keep in mind. Do I want to automatically collect my respondents, all of those who respond to the form? Do I want to collect their usernames? Now, if I'm doing an anonymous survey, I just want to get the feel for the group, then I would not check that. But if I'm doing it as a quiz or an assessment for my students, or if I want to know what particular parent responded or whose child it is in my classroom responded, then I would want to check this because one of my columns in my Google Sheet is going to have the student's email address. So that's kind of cool. And that's what you want to do also too, so that you can email them back their grades. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Here's another one. Do I want to show the progress bar at the bottom of the page? It'll kind of say you're 25% through this survey, you're 50%, you're 100%. In the beginning, your students are going to get confused by that, I can tell you, because they're going to say, oh, I got 100%. No, you only completed 100% of the form. This right here, only allow one response per person, meaning if you're doing a survey, you only want to allow the person to be able to fill that out one time. Okay, that's up to you. And this is kind of a cool one, shuffle question order. This is fairly new to the Google Forms, especially those that are have students sitting right next to each other. It's very easy for them to be able to glance over at their classmate's screen and to fill in the same answers. This will shuffle the question order. It'll still be the same. It'll just shuffle the order. Okay, so that's something to think about. What I'm doing right now is usually when I go in and I select that I want to create a new form, I'll have a theme box that pops up. It did not pop up this initial time, and it could have been because I switched back and forth between screens. So that's not a big deal. All we have to do is click this change theme if it doesn't happen, and my box will pop up. Now, what Google does is it allows you all of these different ways to make your form pretty, okay? Me being an elementary teacher, there are some that I tend to use more than others. There are some new ones on here than there were in the beginning, so that's kind of cool. And they are adding new ones all the time. So I would suggest just kind of flipping through and taking a look. But say that I want to use this one right here. I just click on it, and there it is. And if I don't like it, then I can simply change my theme and pick another one. Okay, but for now, this is the one that we're going to use. Now, I'm going to go back into my theme. Whoop, sorry about that. And I am going to start creating my, my survey. Basically, what you're going to have is you're going to have some of the main tools up at the top. Okay, this Add Collaborators is a really great tool because if you want to share this survey with another teacher and you want them to be able to add some parts of this too, or to edit it, then what you're going to do, because me as a fourth grade teacher, I share a lot of what I make with my cohorts and they do the same. And if I want to use it exactly how they have it, and I don't want to make any changes to fit the needs of my students in my class, then when I open it up, I'll go to rename. I'll go to make a copy so that I can have my own and I can name it whatever, Ecclemeyer whatever, or Ecclemeyer's Kiddos Spelling Unit Test 1. If I don't make a copy, then my responses are going to be added on to the person who created the form's responses. So that's something to think of. But if I want to add the collaborators and I want them to be able to add things to it also, I would add collaborators. I have to name it. So I'm going to go form demo, save. And here I can add my collaborators. Okay. And so what I would do, link to share, and this link is only accessible to my collaborators. Right here it's saying I am the owner, but once I invite people to collaborate, let me go ahead and add my fourth grade cohorts on here. Then I'm sitting here saying they can edit it too, okay? And then when I share it with them, then they will have that opportunity to be able to collaborate also. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel because it's just for me. And what I'm going to do is now I'm going to start creating my Google form. You can use this in so many ways. You can use it as a survey. You can use it as an exit slip. You can use this as, I know now we are using this for quizzes. To help us really prepare and help the students prepare for the SBAC assessment at the end of the school year, which will be all on the computer. We've started doing a lot of our assessments right here on Google Forms, just to give them an opportunity to get used to doing their work on the Google form and submitting an answer and working on scratch paper, but then putting the answer right here in the computer. So this format is similar. It is not exact to the SBAC, but it's a little more similar than if we were just giving them paper and pencil or allowing them to write on a Google Doc or so forth. So what we're going to do is, here is my question, okay? And this is where I'm going to, how often do you give formative assessments, okay? That is my question. Now, if I want a little blurb, if I want some information to help them understand my question, this is where my my help text would come in. And what I did is I just kind of explained what I'm talking about by FA, okay? Now, right here, I have a choice of what kind of question do I want this to be. Do I want it to be a multiple choice question? Do I want it to be a text? Text is if it's just a 1 or 2 word answer. Paragraph text is going to be more of a constructed response or a sentence or multiple sentences. Here we have multiple choice. Here we have checkboxes. Checkboxes are where you can provide a list and they can mark in the checkboxes. Here, this is very similar. Choose from a list where there'll be more than one answer, just as the checkboxes are. Scale is if you want to rate something from a 0 to a 5 or 0 to a 10, and then it'll show you, and when we're doing this demo, I'll show you what a scale looks like. But this is how you can rate. The date, the time, the grid, it allows you to be able to put answers into a specific location. Okay, so for now, let's just practice. Let's go through all of our options. We'll create a question for everyone. So, how often do you give formative assessments? This text is only going to be a very short answer. Okay, if I want to change it, all I have to do is come right back into it, hit right here, and I can change the type of answer it's going to be. If I want it to be a required question, something that they have to answer before they can go on to the next one, or let me rephrase that, they can go on to the next one, when they're at the end and when they submit, it will not allow them to submit if they did not answer this question, then I would check right there. Okay. And for me, I just automatically do it because if it's a quiz or if it's something like that, I want them to be able to answer every question. Then I would hit done. And I'm good to go. There is my question. But say that I'm like, I really wanted to put parentheses around my help text. So even though you've just submitted it, you have the option here. You can click anywhere in the box. Notice here, my little option is gone. But if I hover over the question, this pops up. If I decide I don't want that question, I can delete it. If I decide I want to duplicate this question and maybe just change one word, that's what I tend to do a lot of times. I'll duplicate it, and then I'll change certain parts of the question so I'm not redoing it over and over again. Then you can do that. Or if you want to change it, you want to edit it. So I've edited it. Now it's in my editable mode. And from here, I said I was going to put parentheses, so I'll come here and I'll put parentheses to make it different. Okay, I still want it to be a required question, and I hit done. Now, right here, you see you have your opportunity for advanced settings. If you want to give it like a value, like if they answered between this number and this number, then they'll get so much credit, and this number, then this is where you would use it. But honestly, I have not really needed to use that. And this kind of works more for if you're wanting the answers to be projected in some form of like calculation in the Google Sheets, which is similar to Google Excel. That's where you would use that. Okay, so I don't want to use that, so I'm going to hit done. And now I'm moving on to my next question. So now I say add item. And now I'm going to add another question. This time I'm going to make it a paragraph text. And I'm going to say, let me give another question. Explain how you use formative assessments to guide instruction. Okay. Now I've given a paragraph text. So now I'm opening up for much longer answers. For me, this is my constructed response answers for my students. Okay. The SBAC is going to have multiple choice, short answer, but it's also going to have some longer pieces. And this is where they would type that in. I want this to be a required question. I hit done and I'm ready to move on. I'm going to add another question. This time I want it to be a multiple choice. And I'm going to say, how often during the day do you give formative assessments? Okay. And then here, my option 1 might be 1 to 2 times daily. I hit enter, 3 to 4 times daily. And then maybe 5 could be plus. Okay. And those would be my choices. If I decided that I didn't want one of those, I could click on the X and it would disappear. Okay. And they also have this other tool. So by clicking other, I could allow them to add another choice that's not on here. Okay. If for some reason that was an option, then I would click required question and I would hit done. And there's my question. Okay. And so let's go and take a look at our check boxes. Check boxes would be the same thing. What tools do you typically use for formative assessment? And then my check boxes could be, I'll just put a few of them on here, guys, just so, so it is time, thumbs up, down, and there we go. Okay. And what that would do is it would allow them to check all that apply. They could check more than one. And what I might want to do on a question like this, to be quite honest, is I could come here and go check all that apply. Okay. And now we're done. So then that'll come up and say check all that apply. And then what you've got is you've got your choose from a list, which is very similar. Well, let me show you this right here. Let me go back and let me come in here and let me hit edit. Oh, let me hit duplicate. But this time, instead of making it a checkbox, you see how I did? It pulled up that same exact question. Now I can check choose from a list. And the question's still the same. The help text is still the same, but now I can choose from a list. Okay, so that's how we use that particular one. Okay, and what the choose from a list goes is it'll be a drop-down menu. Oh, hold on. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. And hit done. And here are, whoop, and there are my questions. What tools do you typically about? I'm not sure why that's not popping up. Let's see what's going on. I'm going to close this right here and choose from a list. And I have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and it should be good to go. Yes, it will. The reason that it's not showing up this way is because I'm still in the edited version. Okay. And once I'm out of the edited version and we look in the the live view form, you'll see that that is a drop-down menu with the different choices. Now you see here how I started that question and it's kind of confusing. So I can delete this one here if I want to, and now it's gone. Okay, that's how you would delete something. And I want to add, my last one that I haven't added was the scale. How would you rate your use of formative assessments? Okay, and then I'm going to give a scale. I'm going to make 1 being, how would you rate need improvement? And I can make it all the way to 10. I could go a 1 to a 3 scale. I could go a 1 to a 10 scale. What I'll do is I'll make it a 1 to 3 scale, and I will say very good. Okay? And what will happen is when they answer this question, you can see that they have 1 meaning needing improvement and 3 being very good, and then they can scale where they fall on this particular question. So here we have our form. We're finished with it. We want to be able to see the Fulton Public Schools username. This, remember I said I would use if I used it with my students or with people within the district, but if I use it outside, that's not really going to matter. So then my first question might want to be, what is your name or who is your child? Okay, just so that you have that information on there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send my form, and this is my link if I want to send the link or attach the link to something, or I could embed right into like a newsletter or a blog, or I could just send to a group of people. Okay, so I am going to send it to myself. Okay. And then I am going to show you what it's like to take the quiz. Okay. So I could send it to myself that way, and then I can take the survey, or I could just say view live form, and I could go into it like that. So those are the 2 ways that you can actually see what it's going to look like. And here is what your students or your responders are going to see. Here's the title. Here's the theme. How often do you give? Formative assessments, I would say daily. Explain how you use formative assessments to guide instruction. Help with groups, blah, 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 blah. Okay? How often of the day do you give formative assessments? I would say 5+ because I give it all the time. What tools do I usually apply? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark all 3 of these because I do use all of those and others. Notice, here we go. Remember in the other one, I said that when we looked at the live form, then our drop-down menu would show, and it's only going to allow me to pick 1. So that one right there is only going to be a 1 answer. And how would I rate myself? Very good. Now, as a responder, I can say, send me a copy of my responses, or I can just submit, and life is good. So I'm going to submit. And there we go. Okay. And here it says your response has been recorded. Submit another response, or I can create my own, or so forth. Now I'm going to go back as a teacher. When I'm done and when everybody has filled in the form, I can come up here to view responses. And as you can see, Casey Eckelmeyer, here's the timestamp at 12:06. At this time, Casey Eckelmeyer, and these are my answers. Okay, so you can see that it will allow me to organize the information all in one spot. Okay, and Google Sheets, we've got tons of other opportunities for us as far as grading and stuff goes that we'll talk about in Google Sheets, but Google Forms does allow us to be able to organize into one manner. So this is Google Forms. There are tons of ways to be able to use it. I hope you found this tutorial useful, and good luck with it.